So before we get started and get into each of the individual interactions, I want to give you a nice visual representation of what the interaction model is all about. I want to show you exactly why this model will help you in your sales process and help you sell more websites. So like I said, relationships equal interactions over time. So you want to have more interactions over a longer period of time. And what I want to do is give you a nice visual representation of that. So we've got here a normal kind of XY axis. And what you have on your vertical or Y axis is time. And on your X axis, you've got your interactions. So now let's say, for instance, in a typical sales process, I try to push people to have somewhere between 7 and 10 interactions. So in this specific course, I'm going to walk you through 9 interactions as part of the sales process. And I know that might sound like totally crazy for you to interact with your customer 9 different times before you actually sign a deal. But that's part of how you actually end up charging a lot more, is because you're going to find some really amazing problems and pains that you can fix, and your solution is going to be a lot stronger. So let's look. If we have, let's say, 9 interactions, over the course of a sales process. Now, each one of these interactions is going to have a specific objective and specific goal, and we're going to go into that in a little bit. So now that we have our 9 interactions on our x-axis, what we're going to do is we're going to put on our y-axis basically, these 2 spots. One's going to be for 1 hour, and one's going to be for 2 hours. And we'll put little half ticks there for 30 minutes and 1 hour and 30 minutes. So what happens is, in your very first interaction that you have with your prospective customer, you're going to spend somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes with your prospect. So you're going to invest a very little amount of time in that very first interaction. And we're going to go into specifics around what happens in that interaction, but the amount of time you spend is very little. Now, in your second interaction that you have with your customer, you'll spend a little bit more time with them. Not quite a half hour yet, but you're trying to spend about 20 minutes with them. So your first interaction, you're spending 5 to 10 minutes. Your second interaction, you're spending about 20. And then your third interaction, you're going to spend about 40 minutes to 1 hour with your prospect. At this point in time, you're going to be into the discovery phase with your prospect, and these individual meetings are going to start to run about 1 hour to 1.5 hours as you move over time. So by the end of discovery, you're probably going to be in the 1.5 hour range. And then when you start getting into your proposal presentation, your solution presentation, these meetings can oftentimes take 1.5 hours, 2 hours, something like that. Typically, you're not going to have a meeting that's going to go over 2 hours, but what you'll find is in the beginning, you're going to spend a very little amount of time with these customers, and then the more interactions that you have with them, the more time that you're going to spend with them. So the overall time that you spend with your prospect is much more towards the end of the sales process. And now this is very important, because typically what happens, or at least when I used to start selling, or when I was selling early on in my business, this was opposite. I spent a lot of time with people up front, and what happened was I wasted a lot of time, because people typically, when they don't want to schedule multiple interactions with you, they're just tire kickers and they're time wasters. Those are people that are not serious about their business. But if they're willing to go through your sales process and they start to get, they're willing to schedule 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 meetings, then it usually means that they're a serious buyer. So you start to spend more time with those people, and you spend less time with the tire kickers. And this interaction model is kind of how you weed out those people that are not serious buyers. And so this is a really nice visual. So if you're currently spending 1 hour or 2 hours in your very first interaction that you have with the prospect, then you probably are going to really enjoy this content, because we're going to flip that to the other side. We're going to basically say, in the beginning, you're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes in the first call, then 20 minutes, and so on. And towards the end, you'll spend 1 hour or 2 hours. So once you have a really good feel for a customer and you know that they're a good fit for your business, at that point, you start investing lots and lots of time into that prospect, but you don't do that up front. And this is going to help you save a lot of time. It's going to help you pursue people that are only serious buyers. And this is what the whole entire interaction model that we're about to show you is based on.